Your husband is dead, so grieve, pack your bags, and never come back. Emily says it with the calm finality of someone stating a fact, not delivering a blow. She doesn't look at me when she says it, just reaches for the salad bowl like we're discussing the weather. I don't respond. I don't ask if I misheard. I glance at Ryan, my son, the boy I once rocked through thunderstorms and heartbreaks. He doesn't flinch. He simply nods, quiet, cowardly. There are only 3 of us at the table tonight, but I've never felt more alone in this house. Richard's chair is still there, though empty. His linen napkin is folded neatly in place the way he always left it. A part of me expects him to walk in late from the garage, still smelling of cedar and old paper. But Richard is gone. Buried 1 week ago after 32 years of life together. And now they want me gone too. They say the house is too much for me, that I'll be more comfortable somewhere smaller, but they don't hide what they mean. They want the house. They want me out. And they want it quickly. I stare at my plate. The chicken's gone cold. I feel nothing, or maybe too many things to name. I don't know where I'll go. I don't know what, if anything, is in my name. Richard handled everything, the bills, the accounts, the planning. I was the keeper of people. He was the keeper of things. But he once said something I didn't understand until now. I've prepared everything. When the time comes, you'll know what to do. I didn't ask what he meant. He never explained. But now I remember the small metal box tucked away in the place where we first fell in love, an attic corner above the old guest room where we once danced with no music at all. On top of it, written in his hand, "Only open this when I'm no longer here." I haven't opened it. Not yet. But maybe I will. Emily doesn't speak again after her declaration. She simply lifts her wine glass and takes a sip, like the conversation, if it could be called, that had concluded. The silence stretches. I reach slowly for the bowl of mashed potatoes in front of me. My hand is steady, even though I feel like my chest is hollowed out. I place a spoonful on my plate. I won't touch, mostly to fill the quiet. Across the table, Ryan glances at his phone. He taps something quickly, then sets it down. My son. The same boy who once clung to my side at the doctor's office, who used to run to me with every scraped knee, every broken toy, every question about the world. The boy who used to whisper, "I love you more than Dad," with mischievous eyes. Now he won't even meet mine. The room is too quiet without Richard. Even with the dishes clinking, the scrape of forks, the hum of the old refrigerator behind me, it's quiet in the way that says something is missing. Someone is missing. The mahogany table feels longer tonight. Colder. Richard always sat at the head, a simple presence, never loud. But his silence used to mean steadiness. Now silence just means absence. I try to breathe. The air tastes like resignation. "Did you want to keep any of Richard's tools?" Emily asks, suddenly not looking at me. If not, Ryan was thinking of converting the garage into a guest suite. Maybe for a future nanny. Future nanny. I blink. Another child. Another layer of permanence. Another claim on this house that's still cooling from the loss of its owner. My mouth is dry. I hadn't thought about it. Well, she shrugs. It's all a lot to sort through. But we've got some ideas, and the contractor says the permits wouldn't take long if we move fast. Their ideas, their timeline, their future. As if I'm already a memory they're politely brushing aside. "I haven't even gone through Richard's desk yet," I say softly. Ryan clears his throat. "You probably don't need to, Mum. I already checked, it's mostly old manuals and warranty papers. You've been through his desk." His eyes finally flick to mine. Just for a second. I was just checking for anything urgent. "You were resting?" I nod. Because what else can I do? Argue, yell, plead? I've never been that woman. Not with Richard. Not with anyone. I don't intend to become her now, especially not in front of the woman who's already decided I'm obsolete. Actually, I say quietly, I was thinking of spending a few days at the cabin. Ryan frowns. The cabin. Our old place, near Ellery Lake. It's not winterized, he says. You'll freeze. It's September. Emily gives a short laugh. That place, I didn't know it still existed. It does. Richard and I hadn't gone back in over a decade, but it's still there. Still on the deed. Still tucked in the back of a mountain valley where the pine trees swallow cell signal, and the nights are too quiet for noise to survive. It was where we fell in love, long before mortgage papers and funeral plans. A one-room cabin with creaky floors and a humming refrigerator that only worked if you kicked it first. I haven't seen it in years. But I remember everything, especially the attic, just a crawl space really above the guest nook. That's where Richard placed the box. Not in a safe, not in a bank, not even in his locked filing cabinet. Just a small grey metal box, hidden behind an old blanket and a rusted lantern. He didn't tell me what was inside, only that I'd know when the time came. And now it feels like time has arrived. I'll just stay a couple nights, I say. Some space would be good. Emily exchanges a look with Ryan, the kind couples use when they think they're speaking volumes in silence. I smile politely. You don't have to worry. I won't be taking anything from the garage. The corner of Emily's mouth lifts, but not kindly. We'll be sure to change the locks after the move-out just in case. I pretend I didn't hear that. I finish what little food I'd placed on my plate and excuse myself. Upstairs, the bedroom is colder than usual. Richard's pillow is still slightly indented. His sweater still hangs on the chair. I haven't had the strength to wash it. It smells like cedarwood and something unmistakably him, something I can't name and don't want to lose. I sit on the edge of the bed and reach for the drawer on his side of the nightstand. Inside is the envelope. No lock. No warning. Just my name written in his looping, slightly tilted handwriting. Inside are directions. To the cabin. To the box. One line written in black ink. You told me once you didn't need anything. I never believed you. Go open it, Myrtle. I hold the note to my chest. For a moment I can almost hear his voice. Not from the letter, but from the years. From the way he used to look at me across this very room, like I was the only thing in the world he didn't need to fix. I close my eyes. Tomorrow I'll pack a bag. I'll drive to the cabin. And I'll open the box. Not for revenge. Not for proof. Not for pride. But because somewhere in my bones I believe Richard left me something more than love. He left me what I would need to survive. The drive to Ellery Lake is longer than I remember. Maybe it's the way the road winds differently now, or maybe it's just age, the kind that makes old memories feel closer than they really are, and the future farther than the map says. I haven't been back in over 10 years. Not since Richard's heart scare in 2011. After that, we stayed closer to home. He said he didn't want to deal with the altitude, the cold, or the effort of dragging groceries up a slope like pioneers. I teased him about becoming soft. He grinned and said, "No, just content." I believed him. And yet he never sold the place. I park by the tree line and walk the rest of the way. The grass has grown wild. The little mailbox with our initials R&M is rusted, but still there. The door creaks when I open it, and the scent of dust and pine rushes out to greet me. Inside, it's just as I left it, simple, aged, familiar. The old couch with the crocheted blanket, the table with one leg shorter than the others, the little ceramic bear he bought at a gas station because he thought it looked lonely. I don't light a fire. I sit quietly for a while. Let the walls remember me. Let myself remember them. Richard and I used to come here in the early years, back when we were just two people figuring out how to build a life. We'd drink coffee on the porch, play cards, until the sun dipped below the ridge, and sleep under too many quilts because the heater was more symbolic than functional. He proposed to me here, not with a ring but with a question. If I gave you this life, could you make it beautiful? I said yes. And I did. For 32 years I said yes, in every way I knew how. I said yes in the way I folded his laundry and memorized his schedule. I said yes by making lasagna on the third Thursday of every month, because he once offhandedly mentioned he liked it that way. I said yes by raising our son with patience and grace, even when I felt invisible in my own home. Ryan was a sweet child, curious, gentle, full of questions and easy laughter. He loved Richard more than anything, followed him like a shadow. But somewhere along the way, things shifted. Emily came into our lives like a gust of cold air, polite on the surface, but always watching, measuring. She never told me she didn't like me. She didn't have to. Her silences did. They married after college. Quick ceremony, no fuss. Richard and I paid for the venue and the catering. Emily's parents showed up late and left early. She never said thank you. After the wedding visits became fewer. Calls turned shorter. Ryan started saying things like, Emily thinks it's too much pressure, or we're trying to balance time between both sides of the family, which always meant less time with us, less time with me. Richard saw it. He didn't say much, but he saw. One night, after they'd cancelled Christmas for the second year in a row, I found him sitting in the den with the fireplace unlit, just staring at our old photo album. He didn't look sad, just quiet, thoughtful. Do you think we did something wrong? I asked. He looked up at me, eyes steady. No, I think we did something right. But they're not ready to see it? I didn't fully understand what he meant at the time. Now I do. In the corner of the attic, more crawl space than room, I find the box. It's heavier than I expect. Cold, even in the warm wood around it. I sit cross-legged like I used to and brush off the thin film of dust. The latch clicks. No lock, no key. Just a box and the truth inside it. The first thing I see is the letter. You told me once you didn't need anything. I never believed you. Now it's time you see what I've left and why. I set it aside and keep going. There's a manila envelope labeled banking. Inside statements, account numbers, balances I never knew existed. Small transfers, consistent deposits, a savings structure Richard built like a mason, slow, solid, intentional. Another folder is marked Tour Legacy. At first I don't understand. Then it hits me. Tour was the name we used jokingly back when we dreamed of opening a travel business for older adults. Tour wasn't just a dream. It was real. Filed with the state. Licensed. Operating. The documents show a modest but steady revenue stream. Richard had started it 5 years ago under both our names. But I never signed anything consciously. He must have folded it into paperwork I signed for taxes or insurance, as he often did. There are emails, bookings, reviews from clients. The company exists, and I own it. I don't feel triumphant. I feel overwhelmed. For years I thought I was the one being cared for. But Richard had spent years making sure that if this moment ever came, if they ever turned their backs, I wouldn't be the one left with nothing. There's a final folder, just labeled Home. I flip it open. And there it is, the deed to a small house. Address, Bluebrush Lane, Oregon. Description, lakeside cabin. 2-bed, 2-bath, full mountain view. There's a note paper-clipped to the back for her when she wants quiet. No obligations, no explanations, just peace. Tears come fast this time, because it's all here, the love, the foresight, the belief that I deserved more than whatever was left behind. Outside, the pine trees sway gently. The house is still. But inside me, something begins to shift. Not rage, not revenge, just awakening. I am no longer the woman eating cold chicken in someone else's house. I am the woman who was loved, prepared for, trusted to know what to do. And now I will. Why? I return from Ellery Lake 3 days later. Not because I'm finished processing, but because I need to be present quietly, intentionally, while they think I've already surrendered. When I step through the front door, the house no longer feels like a home. It feels like a showroom mid-conversion. My kitchen smells faintly of fresh paint. The toaster has been moved. A box labelled guest bedding sits in the hallway, sealed shut and taped with Ryan's familiar block handwriting. No one greets me. Emily is upstairs. I can hear her on the phone, cheerful, efficient a voice she saves for vendors and people she intends to impress. Yes, we'd like to list by the end of the month. The neighbourhood's high value and the bones of the home are classic, definitely worth staging properly. She says bones like this house is a carcass, like I didn't bake hundreds of pies here, like I didn't cry into dishwater or laugh at midnight or raise a boy into a man beneath this roof. I set down my bag and walk quietly to the living room. Ryan is measuring the mantel. He doesn't hear me at first. He's talking to himself. If we paint it charcoal, it'll photograph better. Might want to swap out that light fixture. He turns and freezes. Oh, you're back, he says, as if I'd taken a weekend getaway and not stepped into the last sliver of my dignity. I am, I say. He glances at the clock. We were going to call you later today. We've just been trying to move things along with the real estate agent. Of course, I say. Because they assume I have no reason to be involved, no right to be consulted. Just a person to move around like furniture. We're aiming for a mid-month listing, Ryan continues. Emily has a contact who can fast-track the photos. We're thinking of pricing it slightly under market to drive competition. That's smart, I say. His eyebrows lift, surprised. I've agreed too easily. He doesn't realize I'm collecting data, letting him speak, letting the rope run long. We've also reached out to Dad's investment advisor, he says casually. We need to untangle some of the accounts. Which accounts? Well, the trust ones, the travel thing. Not sure what it was. Some side business. I think Emily said there was activity under your name, but she's already emailed the bank to get it clarified. My fingers tighten around the strap of my purse. He doesn't know I've already met the bank manager. He doesn't know the travel thing is a company I legally co-own, the one Richard built, specifically in my name. He doesn't know the trust is locked, structured, protected beyond his reach. I nod slowly. Did you find what you were looking for? Yeah. A lot of Dad's records are a mess, he says with a slight edge, like it's Richard's fault for not organizing his legacy around Ryan's expectations. He adds, we've also been thinking it might make sense for you to consider something smaller, something quieter. You'll be happier. It's not a suggestion, it's a script. They've been practicing this for months. I meet his eyes. Where do you see me going? He hesitates. There's a retirement community in Glendale Emily's mother mentioned. They have a shuttle and meal service. Some nice views? Glendale. It's not far, he adds quickly. We'd visit. They won't. They haven't visited in years, unless it was to pick something up or drop something off. I've learned the sound of a door that opens for obligation, not love. I let the silence stretch. Emily wants to help with the packing he offers. She's been looking at storage options for your things. My things, not heirlooms, not memories, just things. Would it be helpful if I labelled what's staying? I ask quietly. That'd be great. I look at him, at his slightly thinning hair. his anxious energy, his eagerness to impress someone who isn't even in the room. I think of the box, the folders, the deed, the carefully laid breadcrumbs Richard left behind. I think of the house in Oregon, nestled by the lake, of the company that's quietly growing under my name, of the bank account that Ryan and Emily don't even know exists. And I think you think you're building your future, but you're standing on land I already own. I excuse myself, walk up the stairs slowly. In our old bedroom, Richard's sweater is gone. The chair is empty. Someone has moved his books into a bin by the window. Emily. She's decluttering, preparing to make the house feel impersonal for buyers. But this house isn't impersonal. Not to me. I take a deep breath and close the door behind me. On the nightstand is another small envelope. I had missed it before, tucked under a stack of old appointment cards. Inside is one sentence scribbled in Richard's handwriting. You don't owe them an explanation, only yourself. The next morning, Emily slides a glossy binder across the table. This is the transition plan, she says brightly. It's got moving contacts, a real estate timeline, and a checklist of what we'll need from you. I glance at the first page. Estimated profit, $410,000. Expected division, 100% Ryan and Emily, pending legal clearance. I close the binder slowly. She smiles. You'll be so much more relaxed when all of this is behind you. I sip my coffee, smile back, and say, you might be right. The first time I cry, really cry, is when I find the lasagna dish. It's nothing special. Just a deep, white ceramic pan with hairline cracks at the handles. I've had it since the first year of our marriage. Richard hated it, said it was too heavy, too slippery. I loved it, because he always lifted it with a mock groan and a wink. Emily has labelled it to donate. It sits in a box beside my wedding album, a box marked Misc. I kneel down and run my fingers over the dish's rim, remembering the hundreds of dinners we hosted Ryan's birthday, at 12 Richard's promotion, the night we told our closest friends we'd paid off the house. All of it baked into layers of cheese and tomato and memory. And now it's unwanted. Excess. Disposable. Like me. 10 days. That's how long they've given me. They haven't said it aloud, but it's clear in the binder the calendar invites the tone Emily uses when she says, we'll need the keys by then. Like I'm not handing over a home, just keys to a temporary rental. Every morning, I wake up to the sound of footsteps in the hall. They don't knock. They don't ask. Emily opens drawers, stacks, boxes, makes piles. She has decided which linens can go and which china doesn't match the new aesthetic. She talks about me like I'm not in the room, as if I've already left. Ryan helps, but quietly. He moves around me like a man who knows he's complicit, but has convinced himself silence is neutrality. I hear him whisper on the phone late at night. She's taking it better than I thought. And then lower. Once she's out, we can refinance. I try to pack my books. I really do. But every time I open a box, I find something of Richard's. A note in the margin. A receipt used as a bookmark. A pressed leaf from a trip we took 20 years ago, tucked between the pages of a guidebook to Norway, a place we never made it to, but always planned for. The grief is sharp, not just for him, but for me. For the woman I was when I believed my son loved me. When I thought I had more than a legal right to this house, I had an emotional claim, a lived-in claim. Turns out you can't prove history. You can only carry it. And sometimes not even that. The worst moment comes on a Thursday afternoon. Emily is out. Ryan is home working on his laptop in the dining room. I pass him on my way to get the mail. Don't forget to check if that financial packet arrived, he says, not looking up. I stop. What packet? He glances up briefly. From the attorney, the estate documents. Emily said they were going to itemize remaining holdings, assets we hadn't accounted for yet. I blink. What assets? He shrugs. Dad had some old mutual fund or trust account. Emily thinks there's something under both your names. Probably nothing major, but we'll need to verify who gets what. He says who gets what, like we're splitting furniture at a yard sale. He doesn't know I've already seen every file, every number, every name. He doesn't know that Richard's estate, at least the real parts, are not part of the estate at all. They belong to me. But in that moment, I don't feel empowered. I feel erased, like the world is moving on, slicing me out, frame by frame. Even ownership doesn't matter when your place is already written out of the story. I take the mail and go for a walk. The wind stings. The sidewalk feels too clean. The cars drive past like they don't see me. For the first time, I wonder if I should just let them have it. The house, the company, the money. Would it even matter? Would anyone care I sit on the park bench where Richard used to bring me coffee on Sunday mornings? The cup holder's still loose. The wood still splinters on the right armrest. The last time we sat here, he told me he'd ordered a custom journal for our 30th anniversary. I want to write you letters, he said, so you'll have them when I'm no longer interesting. I laughed, told him he'd never be boring. Now I'd give anything to hear him say something mundane, something routine, something that would root me in time and place and memory. Because right now I don't feel like I belong anywhere. That night, I make a list, not of things to take, but of things I will no longer explain why I'm not angry, why I'm not arguing, why I haven't told them what I know, why I still greet them with warmth, why I haven't left yet. Because none of those things are weakness. They're preparation. Richard always said the best revenge was clarity, and mine is coming. But first, I'll finish packing the books, even the ones I'll never read again, because they still belong to me, and I've spent long enough giving things away. The silence becomes my ally. I don't speak much the next few days. I nod when Emily hands me forms to sign. I smile when Ryan mentions a painter stopping by. I walk through the house like I'm already gone, a polite ghost making her final rounds. But I'm not gone. I'm watching, listening, taking inventory not of furniture but of assumptions. They think I'm broken. They think I'm grateful to have time to transition. They think I don't know the difference between a move-out checklist and an eviction wrapped in pleasantries. They don't realize what I've done. I meet with Richard's attorney on a Tuesday, James Langford. Clean desk. Warm voice. The kind of man who doesn't need to raise his tone to assert truth. He greets me with a quiet, Mrs. Ward. Richard thought very highly of you. Not highly enough to tell me everything I say, smiling faintly. He doesn't argue. He just slides a thick envelope across the table. Everything your husband prepared is in here. The business, the trust, the real estate. He wanted you to have full control, but he structured it in a way that would minimize disputes. You are the sole trustee, the sole beneficiary. It's airtight. And the company. You are, by every legal standard, the owner. Ryan's name is not attached to it, and never was. He pauses. Your husband was careful. He anticipated this. I don't ask what this means. We both know. He adds gently, if you'd like, I can begin the process of separating your assets from the probate estate. Quietly. Yes, I say. That's exactly what I want. Back home, Emily knocks once before walking in. We've got the stager scheduled for next Thursday, she says. Can you make sure your room is, cleared out by then? I'll do that. She pauses. And just so you know, Ryan and I spoke to the mortgage advisor. Once everything clears, we're planning to refinance the house and use the equity to invest in expanding the company. I look up. Which company? The travel business. I know you don't know much about it, but it's a good foundation. Dad left a solid structure, and we think we can take it further. Rebrand it as more of a luxury experience. You've already reviewed the company files, I ask, tone calm. She nods. We've got someone helping us. There are great tax benefits if we restructure. I tilt my head. Do you have signing authority? She blinks. Not yet. But once the estate clears, Ryan will. I cut her off gently. That company isn't in the estate. She opens her mouth, then closes it. I smile. I'll be out of the room by Thursday. That night, I retrieve the second box. Not Richard's this time. Mine. It's smaller, blue, filled with things I've never shown anyone. A postcard Richard sent me from San Diego before we were married with a note, I want to take you here someday, even if we're old and tired. The first contract we signed together, a rental agreement for a one-bedroom with terrible heating and a neighbor who smoked cigars at 2 a.m. A receipt from the diner where he proposed. A scribbled napkin from the night Ryan was born that just said, "You're magic." These are not legal documents. They are not enforceable. But they are mine. And I remember who I was, who he knew I was, and why he prepared what he did. I spend the next 3 mornings meeting with the people Richard left in place: Tom, the operations manager of the travel company; Lena, the accountant, who oversees the trust; Helen, the bank officer, who has been quietly redirecting interest payments into a separate reserve account. Each of them looks relieved to see me. Each of them says the same thing in their own way. We've been waiting for you. I don't tell Ryan. I don't tell Emily. I let them keep repainting rooms and calling realtors. Let them walk through the house like conquerors. Because the ground they're standing on doesn't belong to them. By the 5th day, I have everything prepared. A letter to the county clerk confirming the property transfer Richard initiated before his death. A memo to James authorizing him to execute the deed on the lake house, the one in Oregon, which I will move into once the transition is done. A sealed envelope addressed to Ryan, but not to be opened until I'm ready. I don't know if I'll ever give it to him. But writing it helped. On Saturday, Emily knocks again. This time she's smiling with teeth. We got a great pre-appraisal, she says. This house could fetch $480,000 easily. Ryan's thinking of using the equity for a down payment on that investment property in Nevada. I sip my tea. That's a lot of assumptions. She laughs. We're manifesting. You have to act like you already own it. I set down my cup. And think you don't own this. Not the company. Not the trust. Not even the floor you're standing on. But I say, well, I hope it works out. She grins. You're being very graceful through all this. I smile back. I've had practice. She doesn't know what that means. She doesn't ask. And that tells me everything. It starts with the printer jamming. Ryan is in the dining room now, the office, trying to print out what he calls a revised asset projection. Emily's typing on her laptop, cross-checking a spreadsheet. We're going to look so stable on paper, she says with a little smirk. Between the house, the business, and the investments, we're golden. Don't forget the trust, Ryan adds. Dad left a lot more than we thought. I'm in the kitchen making tea. The walls are thin. So is their confidence. They speak like people who haven't been challenged in years, people who think paperwork bends to will, people who see kindness as compliance. That's about to change. That afternoon, I call a meeting. Just the 3 of us. I think it's time we talk, I say gently. Emily looks up from her phone. Sure. We're finalizing the refinance forms anyway. Might as well go over next steps. I nod. Perfect. Ryan sits across from me. Emily next to him, arms folded, face ready for negotiations. I place 3 folders on the coffee table. No dramatics. No announcement. Just quiet clarity. This, I say, tapping the first folder, is the deed to the house. Or rather, what's left of it. Emily frowns. What do you mean? I mean it's not fully yours to inherit. Ryan leans in. Dad told me the house was paid off. It was. Until 18 months ago. I open the folder and slide forward a page. A home equity line of credit. Large. Recent. Active. Emily reads quickly, then looks at Ryan. You knew about this. He shakes his head. He used the money. I continue to fund the expansion of Tour Legacy, the travel business. He moved the funds into the trust. That trust legally is under my name, meaning the debt is tied to the house, but the benefit went elsewhere. To where? Ryan asks slowly. To me. Emily's eyes narrow. You mean, the company belongs to you? I nod. I don't understand. Ryan says, voice rising. Why would he do that? Because he knew I'd be standing here when you started planning renovations with money that wasn't yours. Emily reaches for the second folder. What's this? The trust, I say simply. Her eyes scan the front page. She stops when she sees the name. Not Ryan's, not hers, just mine. Her voice trembles. But Richard said this was a family business. It was. Until you decided I wasn't family. Ryan looks up then. For the first time, really looks. Mum, you told me to pack my things, to leave. You measured rooms while I was still washing his pillowcase. You planned where to put the nursery, the guest suite, the office. Emily speaks quickly. That was just planning. No, I say. That was entitlement. The third folder is the quietest blow. Your projections, I say, are built on assets you don't control. Emily's face twists. But we assumed. Yes, I interrupt. You assumed. Ryan swallows. Okay, so, the business. Fine, we didn't know. But the house is still in the estate. No, I say calmly, it's not. Your father restructured the title. It's in the trust. And that trust, again, is under my name. Emily slams the folder shut. You tricked him. You manipulated a dying man. I raise an eyebrow. 18 months ago, he wasn't dying. He was planning. Ryan leans back like someone's pulled the floor from under him. This can't be legal. It's entirely legal, I say. James Langford has copies of every signature, every filing. He's been Richard's attorney for over 20 years. There's silence. But it isn't peaceful. It's the silence of dismantling, of assumptions unraveling. Emily recovers first. Well, she says, voice flat, you still can't live here forever. You don't want a house this size. And you can't possibly manage the business at your age. You're right, I reply. She blinks. I don't want this house. And I won't be staying. Ryan exhales in relief too early. But you will, I add as tenants. Emily freezes. What, I'll lease it back to you. For market rate, month to month. Until you find something else. That should give you time to recalculate. Ryan stares at me. You're joking. I meet his eyes. Does it feel like I am? Emily shoots up from the couch. We're not paying rent on a house that should be ours. I smile. That's your choice. They leave the room a few minutes later. Emily slams the office door. Ryan lingers. At the threshold, he turns back. I don't understand, Mum. Why didn't you just tell us? Would you have listened? He doesn't answer, because we both know the truth. That night, I walk through the house alone, room by room. I don't touch anything. I just observe. The marks on the wall from where we measured Ryan's height. The dent in the hallway from the time Richard dropped the Christmas tree. The sunken place in the couch where I used to sit with my tea. They're not Emily's memories, not Ryan's anymore either. They're mine. And when I leave, I won't need to take them. They'll follow me intact, unchallenged, unquestioned. In the morning, I call James. Go ahead and process the title change, I say. I'll send the lease agreement by Friday. And the lake house, he asks. I look out the window, past the fence, past the trees, towards something quieter. Yes, I whisper. Tell them I'm coming home. 2 days later, Ryan knocks on my bedroom door. It's late. Past 10. Emily is already asleep or pretending to be. The house is quiet, the kind of quiet that has nothing to do with bedtime and everything to do with a truth no one wants to say aloud. I open the door. He's standing there in a t-shirt and sweatpants looking older than I remember. Or maybe I'm just seeing him clearly for the first time in years. Can we talk? He asks. I nod, and we sit on opposite ends of the living room couch, the one Richard refused to replace, because it had already molded to our backs. Ryan doesn't start with apologies. He starts with confusion. I don't get it, he says quietly. Why would Dad do this? I don't answer right away, because I don't think he's ready for the real answer. Instead, I ask, do you remember when you asked him for money for that startup? He nods. The event planning business. It flopped. He gave you $10,000. Ryan looks surprised. Yeah, but it was a gift. No, I say gently. It was a loan. He blinks. I've seen the documents, I continue. He drew up a full agreement. Principal interest payment plan. You signed it? He stops, tries again. I don't remember signing anything. You did. You probably thought it was just a formality. But he kept it, along with 6 others, over the course of 5 years. Ryan's face drains of colour. I reach beside me and pull a thin folder from my bag. Copies, I say, placing it between us. He opens the top page, scans, flips again. His fingers begin to tremble. These are real, they are. And this number, he points. This is how much I still owe, $86,940, I say, including missed interest. He stares down, not breathing. Jesus? I wait. Let the weight settle. He finally looks at me. So what happens now? That's up to you. He laughs bitterly. What, I just start sending checks to my own mother? No, I say calmly. You'll send them to the trust, to the business you tried to claim, the one your father protected for me. His eyes flare. I didn't know it was yours. You didn't ask, I say. And we sit in silence for a long time, until he asks the question I've been waiting for. Did he think I'd do this? I close my eyes for a moment, open them. I don't think he wanted to believe it, but he prepared for it, just in case. Ryan looks like someone pulled the ground out from under him. But then something shifts, not defensiveness, something closer to sorrow. I messed up, he says, voice low. I just wanted to feel like I was finally in charge of something, that I'd earned it. You didn't earn it, I say softly. You inherited a story you didn't write, and then tried to tear out the ending. His eyes fill, but he doesn't cry. And neither do I. The next morning, Emily is in the kitchen, arms crossed. I want to contest everything she says before I even sit down. There has to be something illegal here. Hidden assets, misfiled deeds. Something. I stir my coffee. Calm. Ready. You're welcome to try. We're already talking to an attorney. I nod. Good. Then you'll know the trust was established 5 years ago, that the transfers were filed properly, that every financial action was witnessed, recorded, and notarized. Nothing was hidden. You just didn't look. She glares at me. Why would Richard go to such lengths to exclude his own family? He didn't, I say. He went to great lengths to protect the only person who hadn't tried to take anything from him. Emily storms out, and for once I don't feel compelled to follow, or explain, or soothe. A week later, I'm sitting across from James again. He slides a new document toward me. Settlement agreement, he says. If they choose to challenge, they'll lose. But you'll spend 6 months in court and waste money. This offers them a clean repayment schedule, minimal damage, and the house remains yours, but leased to them on a fixed term. You can cancel it at will, and the loan repayments are structured as business obligations, not personal. They default, the company takes legal action. Not you. I nod. Perfect. He hesitates. There's something else, he says. A second property. I look up. What, he pulls out another paper? Richard purchased it 2 years ago. Small private, Lakeside, Oregon. In your name, through the trust. He called it the afterlife plan. I laugh. Quiet, involuntary. Typical Richard, I murmur. Always making jokes out of hard things. James smiles. He wanted you to have peace. I run my fingers over the property description. 1 bedroom, a dock, a wood-burning stove. It's not extravagant. It's exactly enough. That night, I tell Ryan. I tell him everything. The documents, the house, the repayments, the terms. I tell him there's a way forward, but it won't be fast and it won't be free. He listens, this time fully, no interruptions, no objections, just a man realizing the damage he's done and the cost of repairing it. At the end, he says the only thing I didn't expect, thank you. I don't answer, because some words aren't meant to be answered, only remembered. 6 months later, I live in a house no one else knows how to find. The cabin is tucked between trees that whisper even when there's no wind. The lake in front of it is more pond than ocean, but it reflects light in a way that makes me believe in stillness again. It's not big, not grand, but it's mine. Every corner, every curtain, every chipped ceramic bowl in the kitchen is mine. Not inherited, not borrowed, not negotiated. Mine. I wake when I want, sometimes before dawn, just to hear the quiet before the birds. I make coffee without anyone asking how strong I like it. I wear the blue sweater Richard once said made my eyes too bright to ignore. I read on the porch. I tend a small herb garden. I make simple soups and overwater the basil and leave the windows open even when it rains. It's not perfect, but it is peaceful. The company Tour Legacy still runs. Tom handles the bookings. Lena manages the finances. I review the monthly reports from a bench by the window, pencil in hand, red circling what needs follow-up. We've started offering group travel for widows. Trips designed not for distraction, but for quiet rediscovery. Last month, a woman named Miriam cried on the last night of our trip to Santa Fe. She said, I didn't know I was still allowed to feel happy. I knew exactly what she meant. Ryan makes his payments. Every month. On time. Through the business account, just like the agreement states. He doesn't call, but he doesn't miss. That's all I asked. Last week, a letter came in his handwriting. No envelope. Just folded paper slipped inside the bookkeeping envelope from the company. Mum, I know I have no right to ask, but I hope someday you might want to talk to me again. Emily and I are in counselling. I've taken a second job. We're trying to be different. I'm trying to be someone you'd respect again. I'm sorry. Ryan. I read it once, folded it carefully, put it in the drawer beside Richard's last letter. Not forgiveness, but acknowledgement. And that's a beginning. I speak sometimes now, to groups, small circles of women, all of us with stories that sound different but feel the same. We talk about the little things first, whose children call who's learning to cook for one who misses the sound of 2 cups being set on a table. Then if there's trust, we go deeper. We talk about what it feels like to be needed until you're no longer useful. To be erased softly, not with violence, but with paperwork and politeness. To be told your life was valuable, but your presence is inconvenient. I tell them what Richard did, how he left me a map with no arrows, only trust. How I followed it, how it led me back to myself. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't opened the box, if I'd simply left, given them the house, the company, the rest of my life. It would have been easier. It also would have been a slow death, the kind of life where you forget your own name because everyone insists on calling you less. I'm glad I didn't choose easy. Richard didn't love me quietly. He prepared for the storm he feared I wouldn't see coming. He didn't stop it. He just gave me the tools to survive it. Today, I'm planting lavender. I think he'd smile at that. I wear gloves too big and overwater the soil and forget which side of the cabin gets the most sun. But it doesn't matter. The point is, I'm here. I'm still learning, still adjusting, still choosing to live. There are no final speeches, no courtroom victory, no dramatic apology from Emily. Only reality, only distance, only the clean, uncluttered truth I have what I need. And I no longer need to be understood in order to feel whole. If you're still listening to my story, thank you. I hope you take from it not vengeance, not bitterness, but permission. Permission to ask questions, to prepare, to trust your instincts, to believe that kindness is not weakness and that silence is not surrender. Richard believed I was worth protecting. I believe that now, too. And I hope one day you will believe the same for yourself.